where segregation was the law of the land. She drank from colored-only water fountains and many times entered business through their back doors with her parents to obtain service. She attended colored-only schools until relocating with her family to New York City for a better life. In New York City, she completed her education. Sharon Salam has been an advocate for justice for over 40 years. Most people know Ms. Salam as the mother of Yusuf Salam, one of the Central Park Five. Ms. Salam is a founding member of Justice for the Wrongfully Incarcerated. On May 9, 2016, she began the 9-day walk from Harlem to Albany, New York. In Albany, legislation was put forth by former Assemblyman Keith Wright on behalf of the wrongful incarcerated and their families. The bill A3978 is now sponsored by Assemblyman Jeffrey Aubrey. Senate bill number is S2074. When passed, it will offer the wrongfully incarcerated housing, social services, medical assistance, free vocational and college education, job placement preference, as well as a clearer path for the monetary compensation for years of wrongful incarceration. For many years before this, Ms. Salam worked for People United for Children, advocating for families with children in foster care and in juvenile justice facilities. She held programs educating parents on issues related to advocating for their child or children returned from foster care and ways to stabilize their families. She offered both advocacy and legal education programs. Over the years, Ms. Salam has assisted in the return of thousands of children to their families from foster care. Ms. Salam has served on many boards, including Harlem's Community Board 10, and is presently a board member on community radio station WBAI 99.5 in New York State. Next, we have Ms. Eva Santiago. Eva Santiago is a parent advocate and a parent organizer at the Child Welfare Organizing Project. Having completed the Parent Leadership Curriculum and a Restorative Certificate Program at the New School Institute for Transformative Mentoring, it has given her the knowledge in supporting families of color affected by the child welfare system who undergo the trauma that comes with systematic oppression. She believes the first step towards healing is educating parents of their rights to better protect themselves and their families. Her personal experience with the child welfare system has driven her to advocate for parents and continue to spread awareness on the disproportionality with communities of color, which she believes that through organizing will bring people together to create powerful solutions to transform the system. And lastly, we have Ms. Black Spades Eva Supreme Queen. So, I was supposed to ask you guys about the video and what you guys thought about it, but it didn't work. So, I'm going to ask you.
What we're going to do is just ask you this. What has been your personal experience dealing with the child welfare system? Let's start with you, Mr. Long.
Well, the child welfare system, I hope you all can hear me. If you can't, please come on. Because, you know, I had planned to come here. But yesterday I started getting a cold, and now it's a little in my throat. So I'm doing the best I can, other than not being here at all. But so come on up if you can't hear, and forgive me coughing every now and then. Okay. My experience with child welfare has been one of utter disbelief. Because it's a system that most people don't really understand, and you don't really understand it unless you are in it. Everything that you are accustomed to is different when you get in a child welfare situation. For instance, if a judge says come in next week and bring the papers. And when next week comes, you're there, and nobody is there with the papers, and the judge says, well, we're just going to give them more time to bring the papers. That's different from any kind of criminal court that you will experience, because in a criminal court, if somebody shows up without their stuff or somebody is not present, then there are, yes, there's immediate things to pay, redress. But in family court, it pushes you on and on and on. Now, when I first started working in, well, I want to say foster care, but actually we put our flyer up and we anticipated getting people to come in who had juvenile justice issues. And our flyer said, if you're in trouble, have trouble with your children, you need some help, come to People United for Children, and people responded. And at that particular time, we were very fortunate that one of the ladies who was volunteering with us had come retired and was coming working with us from both background in juvenile justice as well as foster care. So we moved full speed ahead. During that period, there were 50,000 children in foster care. So the foster care numbers have gone considerably down, but the system remains the same. You know, the majority of the children who are in foster care today are still children of color, and particularly black children. Now, at one point, we sued the city of New York on behalf of families who had children who were in foster care for the removal of children and placing them in foster care without an investigation. So that's somebody just coming up saying you did X, Y, Z. Nobody's investigating anything, but your child is in foster care. So we sued them, and working with us was the Center for Law and Social Justice out at Medgar Evers College. And we moved ahead with that case. But today I understand and I realize that these same issues that we sued on before are still prevalent, because what usually happens is you don't just call it the same thing, you have another name for it. You describe it and you name it something else. For instance, there was one case we had where the parent, the grandparent whose child had been placed in foster care, and her crime was she lived in public housing and her apartment was in disarray. Now, her apartment was in disarray. The ceiling had fallen. You see what I'm saying? The cabinets was a mess. Wow. So instead of saying, oh, this is an issue regarding to housing, they decided to say this was her issue, and somehow she knocked down the ceiling and got this apartment in disarray. Oh, wow. That is, you see? So these same kind of things happen today in different kind of ways. Because the reason I mentioned that particular case was because legal aid had brought a case upon the city